Hello, my name is Everett Miller. I'm 29 years old. And if you ask me how I'm doing, I can only sigh and say, trying my best. My life feels like a sad country song you'd hear in a dimly lit bar on Broadway in Nashville, where I live. Nashville, the country music capital of the world, where melodies of heartbreak and unfulfilled dreams mingle with neon lights and the laughter of tourists. But for me, this city isn't about the glitz of the stage or big dreams. It's about long, exhausting workdays, late nights driving delivery under flickering streetlights, and worries weighing on my shoulders like a backpack full of stones. I live in a tiny rented apartment in East Nashville, where the walls are so thin I can hear my neighbors arguing about who forgot to take out the trash. The apartment is nothing special. A worn-out sofa, a tiny dining table, and a creaky bed that groans every time I lie down after a long day. But it's home, the place I return to every night, though sometimes I wonder what I'm even living for. I work 2 jobs to keep everything from falling apart. By day, I'm a customer service representative for Bramwell Utilities, a large utility company in the city. The job is like an endless battle, answering phone calls, listening to frustrated customers complain about their bills, weak water pressure, or broken streetlights, all while trying to keep my voice calm and professional. I sit in a small cubicle, headset clamped on, eyes glued to a computer screen, trying not to notice the clock crawling slower than a turtle. When my shift ends at 5 p.m., there's no rest. I rush to my car, open a delivery app, and become a delivery driver until late at night. Nashville's streets are so familiar I could navigate them with my eyes closed. But every trip, every package delivered is a reminder that I'm racing against myself, trying to keep my life from derailing. Why do I work myself to exhaustion? Because of family? No, not the family I dream of building with Claire, the wonderful woman I got engaged to last year. I'm talking about my parents and my younger brother Corey, who seem to think I'm an endless money tree. My father, Russell Miller, 58, used to be a factory worker in Clarksville, about an hour's drive from Nashville. He retired early due to health issues, but if you ask me, I think he quit because he didn't want to face life anymore. Dad's addicted to gambling, poker games at local casinos, online football bets. Every month he calls, his voice raspy, begging for money to pay off an urgent debt, or just this one time, Everett, I swear. But one time always leads to the next, and the next after that. My mother, Paula, 55, isn't much different. She used to be a sharp, quick-witted secretary, but now she lives to shop and spend. Expensive dresses, sparkling jewelry, or even useless home decor. She buys it all, whether the family needs it or not. Every time I send money home, I hope she'll use it to pay bills or buy groceries. But no. Last week she called to brag about a new designer handbag. Only $300, Everett, I got a great deal. I just sat there, gripping the phone, trying not to let my anger explode. Then there's Corey, my 26-year-old brother, who seems to think life is an endless party. He's unemployed, living off our parents with no intention of changing. Corey loves partying, hanging out with friends at bars, and never thinks about getting a job. I've tried talking to him, advising him, even yelling at him, but Corey just smirks and says, "No need to make a big deal out of it, Everett. You're making money, right?" That line hits me like a punch to the gut, but there's nothing I can do about it. Every month I send most of my income to Clarksville to help my parents pay bills, debts, or whatever they claim is urgent. I keep just enough for rent, gas, and food, usually instant noodles or convenience store sandwiches. Claire, my fiancée, worries when she sees me eating like that, but I just smile and say, "I'm fine, don't worry." But the truth is, I'm not fine. I'm tired, exhausted, and sometimes I wonder if I'm living or just surviving. Claire is the only light in my life right now. She's 27, an elementary school teacher with a gentle smile that could melt any heart. We met 3 years ago at a small Nashville coffee shop when I accidentally spilled coffee on her shirt. Instead of getting mad, she laughed and said, "Well, at least you made my day more interesting." From there, we started talking, and soon I realized I couldn't live without her. Claire understands me, understands the pressures I'm under, and she always tries to pull me out of my darkest days. But even Claire can't ease the guilt I feel. The guilt that I have to keep providing for my parents, that I owe them for raising me. There's one other person who matters to me. My grandmother Sandra, 78, who lives in Ashland City, a quiet little town by the Cumberland River, about 45 minutes from Clarksville. She's been my closest confidant since I was a kid. When my parents were busy arguing about money or Dad was drunk after a night of losing at gambling, Grandma would hold me close, tell me stories, and make me feel safe. She's the only one in the family who doesn't ask anything of me, and the only one who dares to call out my parents' selfishness. "Everett," she once said, her voice stern but full of love, "your parents have no right to exploit you like this. You have to live for yourself too." I know she's right, but every time I think about cutting back on the money I send, my heart feels heavy. I'm the eldest son. I have a responsibility, don't I? Nashville, with all its beauty, sometimes makes me feel lost. I drive past Broadway at night while delivering, seeing crowds laughing and bands playing lively tunes in the bars. I hear the twang of guitars, songs about love stories, and I wonder, when will it be my turn to live a life like that? A life not weighed down by responsibilities, by phone calls demanding money, by the feeling that I'm running endlessly but never reaching the finish line? Yesterday, after finishing a delivery at 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was Mom. "Everett, I need $500 to fix the plumbing. The house is flooding. Can you send it now?" I stood there on the side of the road under the dim yellow streetlight, feeling my chest tighten. I knew the plumbing fix might be real, but it could just as easily be an excuse for her to buy something new. I sent the money like always and told myself, just this once. But deep down, I know there'll be more times. Claire sees how exhausted I am. Last night, when I got back to the apartment, she was waiting with a plate of homemade spaghetti, a rare treat compared to convenience store food. She took my hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Everett, you can't keep doing this. You're working yourself to death for them." I wanted to say something to reassure her, but no words came. Because she's right. I'm exhausted, and I don't know how much longer I can keep going. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the faint sound of traffic outside. I thought about Grandma Sandra, her words. "You have to live for yourself." I thought about Claire, about the future we want to build, a small house filled with the laughter of children, a life where I'm not counting every penny to send to Clarksville. But then I thought about my parents, about Corey, about the accusations I know they'd hurl if I stopped providing. "You're ungrateful, Everett. You're turning your back on family." And the guilt rose again, like a beast gnawing at my heart. I closed my eyes trying to sleep, but sleep didn't come easily. I know I'm standing at a crossroads, but I'm not ready to turn yet. Not now. Maybe tomorrow or the day after I'll find the courage. But tonight I just want to rest, even if only for a few hours before the alarm blares and pulls me back into the endless grind. The alarm clock cuts through my fitful sleep at 5 a.m. I roll out of bed, my body aching as if I'd just run a marathon. My head buzzes, not just from lack of sleep, but from thoughts spinning like a country song stuck on repeat. I brew coffee, throw on clothes, and brace myself for another day at Bramwell Utilities, where I'll sit in my tiny cubicle listening to grumpy customers while trying to keep my voice steady. Today is a significant day. It's the anniversary of my grandfather's passing. It's been 12 years since he died. Claire and I have planned to drive to Ashland City to visit Grandma Sandra. I know this trip won't just be about remembrance. Grandma has a way of seeing right through me, and I need that now more than ever. That evening, I take the night off from deliveries and pick up Claire in my beat-up old truck that's been with me for over 6 years. Claire sits in the passenger seat, her hand gripping mine, warm and steady. "Are you okay, Everett?" she asks, her voice soft but laced with concern. I nod, avoiding her eyes, afraid she'll see how much of a mess I am. The road to Ashland City winds through lush green fields and the shimmering Cumberland River under the early evening sun. I love this place, its peacefulness, the way everything seems to slow down as if time isn't in a rush here. Grandma's house sits at the end of a dirt road, small but cozy with pots of blooming geraniums on the porch. As I step inside, the smell of freshly baked butter cookies fills the air, and Grandma stands there, her eyes lighting up when she sees us. "Everett, Claire," she calls, hugging us so tightly I feel my bones creak. Come in, I've made cookies." We sit around the old wooden table in the kitchen, where I used to spend hours as a kid listening to Grandpa tell stories about his days working on the river. Today, the air feels heavier. Grandma sets a plate of cookies in front of us, but her eyes are locked on me as if she can see the weight of the world on my shoulders. "You look awful, Everett," she says bluntly, no sugarcoating. "Your eyes are sunken, your face pale as a ghost. What's going on?" I want to laugh, to say I'm fine, but the words stick in my throat. Claire squeezes my hand under the table, giving me the strength to speak. "Grandma, I'm exhausted. Work, Mom and Dad, Corey, everything. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up." As the words spill out, it feels like a dam breaking, and everything I've bottled up comes flooding out like a river. I tell her everything. The grueling workdays, the constant calls from Mom demanding money, Dad's pleas to cover his gambling debts, and Corey, who seems to think I'm an ATM. I talk about the guilt that weighs me down every time I consider saying no, the fear that if I stop providing, the family will fall apart. Grandma listens without interrupting, but I see her hands tighten around her coffee mug as if she's holding back anger. When I finish, Grandma lets out a deep, heavy sigh, as if she's taken my pain into her own heart. "Everett," she says, her voice firm but gentle, "you don't owe your parents your entire life. They raised you, yes, but that was their responsibility when they chose to have you. You have the right to live for yourself, for Claire, for your future." She glances at Claire, then back at me. "Do you think your grandfather would want you to live like this, exhausted with no strength left for yourself?" Her words hit like a knife, not because they hurt, but because they cut straight to the truth I've been avoiding. I look down, fidgeting with a cookie on my plate, searching for a way to argue back. But then Claire speaks, her voice trembling but resolute. "Everett, I love you and I want us to build a family, but you can't do that if you let them drain you dry. Think about our family, Everett. Think about me, about our future." I look at Claire, see the tears glistening in her eyes, and my heart clenches. She's right. Grandma's right. But inside me a war rages. On one side is the guilt, the responsibility, the words my parents have drilled into me. "You're the eldest son, Everett. You have to take care of the family." On the other is the longing to live, to breathe, to build a life not crushed by unreasonable demands. We sit there for hours talking, eating cookies and drinking coffee. Grandma tells stories of how she and Grandpa struggled to raise my dad and his siblings, but they never demanded their children sacrifice their lives. "Family is about love, Everett, not control or exploitation," she says. "You have to set boundaries. If you don't, they'll never stop." When we leave Grandma's house, it's dark. Claire sits beside me in the truck, silent but still holding my hand. I drive through the familiar roads, but in my mind, Grandma's and Claire's words echo. I know what I have to do, but the thought of confronting my parents makes my heart pound. I don't want to be an ungrateful son, but I also don't want to keep living like a shadow. The next day, I sit down with Claire in our small apartment. She brings me a steaming cup of tea, sets it in front of me, and sits across from me, her eyes unwavering. "Everett, you need to decide," she says. "I'll be here no matter what you choose, but I want you to be happy." I take a deep breath, feeling like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff. "I'm going to talk to them," I say, my voice hoarse. "I'll send a fixed amount each month, enough for them to get by. No more." Claire smiles, but I see the worry in her eyes. She knows, as I do, that my parents won't take this lightly. but I've made my decision. That night, I call my dad. "Dad, Mom, we need to talk," I begin, trying to keep my voice calm. "From now on, I'm only sending $300 a month for your bills. I can't afford to send more. I need to take care of my life with Claire." The other end of the line goes silent, so long I think he's hung up. Then Dad's voice comes through, cold and sharp. "What are you saying? You're abandoning me and your mom? Who do you think you are, Everett? We raised you and now you dare turn your back on us?" Mom jumps in, her voice shrill. "You're ungrateful, Everett. You want us to starve? When we're gone, don't regret it." I can hear Corey in the background sneering. "Wow, big brother's getting stingy, making all that money but won't share with family." Every word they say is like a knife to my heart. I want to scream, to explain that I've done everything I can, that I have nothing left to give. But I just say, "I've made my decision. $300 a month. I can't afford more." Then I hang up, my hands trembling. Claire hugs me from behind, saying nothing, but her presence is enough to keep me from falling apart. In the days that follow, my parents and Corey don't call back. No texts, no calls, nothing. The silence is more terrifying than their accusations, making me wonder if I've done something wrong. If I really am an ungrateful son. Several times I reach for the phone, tempted to call Mom to see if she needs anything, to check if Dad's house needs repairs. But I tell myself to stay strong. Every time I look at Claire, every time I remember Grandma's words, I know I have to stand firm. This is a turning point, the first time I've chosen myself. But deep down, I know the story isn't over, and what lies ahead might be even harder. The weeks following my conversation with my parents, I wake up with a strange feeling, like an invisible cloud hanging over my head. I check my phone, a habit I can't break, but my inbox is empty. Not a single message from Dad, not a call from Mom, and Corey, as usual, has vanished as if I no longer exist in his world. The silence, instead of bringing relief, makes me uneasy. I'm used to the calls demanding money, the accusations, even the arguments. But this quiet? It feels like the calm before a storm. Claire notices my tension. Every morning she slides a plate of freshly baked bread, still warm and fragrant, toward me, her gentle smile paired with concerned eyes. "Are you okay, Everett?" she asks, her voice as soft as when she speaks to her third-grade students. I want to say I'm fine, that everything's okay, but the words stick in my throat. Instead, I take her hand, feeling the warmth of her slender fingers. I'm just not used to them not calling, not texting. It's unsettling. Claire tilts her head, her light brown hair falling over her shoulder. "Maybe they need time to accept it, Everett. You did the right thing. You need to live for yourself, for us." I nod, but inside I'm not so sure. I've cut back on the money I send, made it clear to my parents I can't keep carrying everything. But their words, "You're ungrateful, Everett. You want us to starve?" echo in my mind like a mournful country song I can't stop hearing. Each day that passes, I brace for a call, a text, even an angry outburst. But there's nothing. My phone is silent, eerily so. I try to push the worries aside to focus on a major milestone, my wedding to Claire. We've started planning, and I feel a faint spark of light piercing through the gloom of recent days. Claire and I choose a small farm on the outskirts of Nashville as the venue, with sprawling fields and an old barn decorated with lanterns and wildflowers. Claire is thrilled about every detail, from the invitation designs to the table arrangements, and her enthusiasm makes me smile, if only for a moment. But even as we discuss tablecloth colors or guest lists, I can't shake the emptiness. My parents haven't asked about the wedding, despite the invitation I sent. Corey hasn't responded to my text asking him to be a groomsman. They've vanished from my life, and their absence stings. One afternoon, while I'm at Bramwell Utilities, my phone buzzes. I jump, thinking it's Mom or Dad, but it's an unknown number. I answer, my voice shaky. "Hello?" There's silence on the other end, just heavy breathing. Then a low, distorted voice, as if filtered through an app. "You'll regret this, Everett." That's it. Then the call ends. I sit there clutching the phone, my heart pounding. Who was it? Dad, Corey? Or just a stupid prank? I try to tell myself it's no big deal, but the unease clings to me like a shadow. I don't tell Claire about the call. She's already got enough to worry about, and I don't want to scare her. But a few days later, a text comes from another unknown number. Think you can get away? Watch your back. This time a chill runs down my spine. I trace the number, but it leads nowhere. Probably a burner. I start paying more attention when driving deliveries at night, feeling like someone's watching me from Nashville's dark corners. The once familiar streets now carry a sense of menace, as if every streetlight hides a secret. I call Grandma Sandra, hoping her voice will soothe my growing paranoia. She listens as I spill everything, her tone calm but laced with concern. "Everett, you need to be careful," she says. "Your father, Russell, when he's angry, he can do foolish things. Remember when he smashed the neighbor's window over a debt dispute? Don't take this lightly." Her words make me shudder. I remember that incident from when I was a kid and how Dad smirked when the police showed up, as if he feared nothing. Would he really do something to get back at me? Or Corey with his reckless attitude and glee at my misery? I try to reassure myself that my parents are just angry, that they wouldn't go so far as to hurt me. But every time my phone buzzes, every time I get a text from an unknown number, my heart races. Claire starts to notice my tension. One evening, as we're watching a movie on our rickety old sofa, she turns off the TV and faces me. "Everett, you're hiding something, aren't you?" I hesitate, but her eyes, worried yet resolute, make it impossible to lie. I tell her about the calls, the texts, and the growing unease inside me. Claire grips my hand, her face paling. "Everett, we need to report this to the police. This isn't a joke." I shake my head, forcing a weak smile. "No, Claire, they're probably just trying to scare me. They won't do anything." But even as I say it, I'm not sure I believe it. Claire doesn't push, but I notice her checking the door locks more carefully each night, and she texts me often during my late-night delivery shifts. As the wedding approaches, my joy is overshadowed by my family's isolation. I sent invitations to my parents' house in Clarksville, but got no response. I called, left voicemails, but received only silence. Corey, the little brother I used to play ball with in the backyard, feels like a stranger now. I try not to let it hurt, but every time I think about them missing my big day, my heart aches. Grandma Sandra is the only family member excited about the wedding. She calls weekly, asking about preparations, and sends us a handmade quilt as a wedding gift. "You're going to have a wonderful day, Everett," she says, her voice warm. "And if your parents don't show up, that's their loss, not yours." I want to believe her, but their absence leaves a hole in my heart. The night before the wedding, I lie in bed watching Claire sleep peacefully beside me. She looks serene, her hair spread across the pillow, and I wonder if I'm worthy of her. I've chosen her, chosen our future, but why do I still feel so unsettled and tense? The wedding day arrives under the golden glow of a May morning in Nashville. The small farm on the outskirts where we chose to hold the ceremony looks like a painting. A sprawling garden surrounded by vibrant wildflowers and strings of lanterns dangling from tree branches. A large white tent stands at the center with tables draped in white linen, adorned with vases of daisies and ivy. Soft country music drifts from the live band, blending with the breeze rustling through the fields. This is where Claire and I will exchange our vows, and though my heart is heavy with my family's absence, I try not to let it ruin my mood on this momentous day. I stand in a small room in the farm's main house, adjusting my tie in front of a mirror, trying to keep my hands from shaking. The gray suit fits perfectly, but I feel like I'm wearing armor that's too tight. Claire walks in, radiant in a pristine white wedding dress, its lace neckline hugging her shoulders, her light brown hair cascading like a stream. "Everett, you look like you stepped out of a country song," she says, her beaming smile making my heart race. I pull her into a hug, whispering, "You're the one taking my breath away." But deep down, I can't shake an unsettling, restless feeling. Grandma Sandra arrives early, elegant in a navy blue dress, her eyes lighting up when she sees me. She hugs me tightly, whispering, "Today is your day, Everett. Don't let anyone steal it." Her words are like a calming balm, but I still feel an emptiness. My parents aren't here. Neither is Corey. I sent invitations, made calls, foolishly hoped they'd show up. But as I look out at the garden where guests are gathering, I see only Claire's friends, my co-workers, and Claire's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Parker. Tom Parker, Claire's dad, is a tall man with salt and pepper hair and a warm smile. Ellen, her mom, is petite, bustling about, checking every detail of the wedding, from the flower arrangements to the band's positioning. They hug me when they arrive, treating me like their own son. "Everett, we're proud of you," Tom says, clapping my shoulder. "You're a good man, and Claire's lucky to have you." His words bring a sting to my eyes, but also a pang of pain. Claire's family treats me like one of their own. So why has my own family turned their backs? The ceremony begins under the radiant sunlight. Claire walks toward me holding a bouquet of wildflowers, her eyes sparkling like stars. As we exchange vows, the world narrows to just the two of us. "Everett," she says, her voice trembling, "I promise to stand by you no matter how hard life gets. You are my home." I hold her hand, fighting back tears. "Claire, I promise to give you the life you deserve, a future we'll build together." As we exchange rings, the crowd claps. Grandma Sandra wipes tears from the front row, and the Parkers beam. In that moment, I feel like I can conquer anything. The reception unfolds in the white tent, aglow with lanterns and filled with laughter. The band plays lively country tunes, guests dance, and Claire pulls me onto the dance floor, laughing as I clumsily follow her lead. Tom and Ellen join in, Tom belting out a Johnny Cash song, making everyone roar with laughter. But every time I glance at the entrance, I hope in vain that my parents or Corey will walk in. They don't. Claire notices the emptiness in my eyes, squeezes my hand, and whispers, "Today is ours, Everett. Just us." I nod, trying to lose myself in the joy, but last night's threatening text lingers like a thorn in my heart. Then everything falls apart. In the middle of the reception, as I'm talking with Grandma Sandra, a young staff member with her hair in a high ponytail rushes over, her face pale. "Mr. Miller, there's a package for you," she says, her voice shaking. It's weird. No sender's name, and there's a noise inside, like something's crawling. My heart pounds, the recent threatening messages flashing in my mind. I glance at Claire, who's standing with Ellen, her eyes full of worry. "I'll check it out," I say, trying to sound calm, but my hand trembles as I hold my wine glass. The package sits on a side table at the edge of the garden, away from the tent. It's a large wooden box, its rough surface wrapped in worn brown craft paper with no indication of a sender. Small holes drilled into the lid make my hair stand on end, and from inside I hear a rustling. Not paper or objects clattering, but something alive, moving. Claire grips my arm, her voice breaking. "Everett, don't open it." "Call someone, please." Tom steps forward, his expression stern. "You sure about this, Everett?" "Let me get security to check it." But I shake my head, a strange stubbornness rising in me. I need to know. I need to face whatever's waiting. Curious guests start to gather, some leaving their tables to get closer. Grandma Sandra stands a few steps away, clutching her handkerchief, her eyes uneasy. I grab a knife from a table, its blade glinting under the lanterns. Claire holds my arm, her breathing rapid. "Everett, please be careful." I take a deep breath, my heart pounding like a drum, and slowly lift the lid. Time seems to freeze. Then a black wave surges from the box. Dozens of giant tarantulas, their hairy bodies and long legs scrambling like a living nightmare. They spill out like a flood, crawling over the table onto the grass, up Claire's wedding dress, onto Tom's shoes. Screams pierce the garden, sharp as shattering glass. A young woman trips while running, her dress catching on a chair, pulling a table crashing down. Wine glasses shatter, red wine spilling like blood on the grass. A child wails, their mother clutching them tightly as she runs into the tent. "Spiders! Spiders!" Someone screams, voice frantic. The tarantulas scatter everywhere. One crawls up Ellen's arm, making her shriek and fling her pearl bracelet to the ground. Claire grips my hand, her nails digging into my skin, her face ashen. "Everett!" she cries, her voice lost in the chaos. I pull her back, brushing a spider off her dress, my heart racing like it might explode. "Don't be scared, Claire, I'm here," I say, trying to stay calm, but I'm shaking too. Guests scatter in panic. Grandma Sandra stands frozen, hand clutching her chest, her eyes blazing with anger. "Everett, this is your father. I know he did this. Only he's twisted enough." Her words hit like a knife, confirming what I'd suspected. Dad, Corey. They wanted to ruin this day, to hurt me. I tell the staff member, "Call the police, call animal control now." Claire clings to me, trembling, her wedding dress stained with grass and dirt. Tom uses a long stick from a table to push the spiders away. "Everyone stay calm," he shouts, his voice booming, but no one listens. The wedding has become a nightmare, filled with screams, running, and the sound of breaking glass. The police and animal control arrive after 10 agonizing minutes. They wear protective gear, carrying metal cages, capturing the spiders with astonishing calm. The tarantulas are locked away, their legs twitching in the cages, sending shivers down my spine. A police officer, a woman with her hair tied back tightly, takes my statement. "Do you have any suspicions about who's behind this?" she asks, her eyes sharp. I glance at Claire, at Grandma, then shake my head. "I don't have proof," I say, though in my heart I know. Dad, Corey, the anonymous texts, the threats, it all points to them. The reception slowly regains order, but the joy has been stolen. Guests sit back down, whispering to each other, their eyes filled with pity as they look at Claire and me. Claire tries to smile, tries to pull me onto the dance floor, but I see her tremble whenever someone mentions the spiders. I hold her, whispering, "I'm sorry, Claire. I didn't want this day to turn out like this." She shakes her head, eyes glistening. "It's not your fault, Everett, but we have to stop them. They can't keep hurting us." That night, after the guests leave, I sit with Claire, Grandma Sandra, and the Parkers in the farm's main house. Grandma holds my hand, her voice trembling with anger. "Everett, this isn't family, this is revenge. You have to confront them." Tom nods, clapping my shoulder. "You're not alone, Everett. We're your family." Claire hugs me, whispering, "We'll get through this, Everett. Together." I nod, but inside anger burns. I know I have to face my parents, face Corey. I know this story isn't over. But in that moment, I just want to hold Claire, to cling to the last scraps of happiness from our wedding day, before stepping into the next battle. The early morning sunlight filters softly through the window of our small East Nashville apartment, making dust particles sparkle like tiny flecks of light in the air. Claire is still asleep, her breathing steady, her face peaceful, as if the nightmare of our wedding day was just a fleeting dream. But for me, the images of tarantulas crawling across the reception tables, the guests' screams, and Claire's panicked eyes are etched into my mind, sharp as a blade. I sit at the kitchen table, a cold cup of coffee in my hand, anger rising like an unquenchable fire. I need answers. I need to confront them. Claire wakes up, her hair tousled, and looks at me with worried eyes. "What are you going to do, Everett?" she asks, her voice gentle but resolute. I take a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "I have to go to Clarksville, Claire. I need to talk to my parents, to Corey. I need to know if they were really behind this." Claire grips my hand, her nails lightly digging into my skin. "I want to come with you. I don't want you to face them alone." Grandma Sandra called this morning too, her voice stern over the phone. "Everett, let me go with you. They need to know you're not alone." But I shake my head at both of them, if only in my mind. This is my battle. I need to handle it myself. The drive to Clarksville feels longer than usual, or maybe it's just my perception. The fields stretching along the road, the weathered billboards advertising local diners, and the Cumberland River glinting in the sunlight. All so familiar, Yet today they feel alien, as if I'm entering enemy territory. My parents' house on the outskirts of Clarksville comes into view, a single-story brick home with a cluttered front yard, overgrown grass, and a rusted old truck abandoned in the driveway. I park, my heart pounding, and take a deep breath before stepping out. I knock on the door, the sound echoing in the still air. No one answers. I knock harder, anger and unease swirling in my chest. Finally, the door creaks open and my father, Russell, stands there, wearing a crumpled t-shirt, his eyes bloodshot as if he'd been drinking all night. "Everett," he says, his voice cold, not a hint of surprise. "Come in." I step inside, the air thick with the smell of cigarette smoke and stale beer. My mother, Paula, sits on the sofa holding a coffee mug, her eyes icy as they meet mine. Corey leans against the wall, a cigarette dangling between his fingers, his familiar smirk making me want to punch him. No one speaks, and the silence weighs on my chest like a boulder. "I need to know," I start, my voice trembling, but I force it to stay firm. "The gift box at the wedding, the spiders. Was it you, Mom, Dad, Corey?" I lock eyes with my father, searching for a sign, guilt, admission, anything. But he just scoffs, shrugging. "What are you talking about, Everett? Spiders? Sounds like some crazy story. You think I've got time for childish pranks like that?" His tone drips with sarcasm, but I catch a strange glint in his eyes, as if he's relishing my pain. My mother cuts in, her voice shrill and accusatory. "You dare come here and accuse us? After everything we've done for you? You abandon your family, cut off our money, and now you come back to point fingers? You're nothing but an ungrateful son." Her words stab at my heart, but this time I don't let them break me. "Mom, I've sent money to this family for years, to the point where I had nothing left for myself, but that box, someone sent it to ruin my wedding. If it wasn't you, then who?" Corey laughs, a harsh, cruel sound. "Wow, big brother, sounds like you're getting paranoid. Maybe it was a jealous guest pissed about your pretty bride. But that scene must have been something to see, huh? Too bad I missed it." He winks, but his smirk doesn't hide the glee in his eyes. I step closer to Corey, clenching my fist to keep from losing control. "If I find out it was you, Corey, I swear, you won't get away with it." My father stands, looming toward me, tall and intimidating. "You dare come here and threaten your brother? Who do you think you are, Everett? You think you can cut me off, abandon your family, and then strut in here acting superior? If you don't go back to providing like before, I swear things will get worse." His words hit like a punch, confirming my worst suspicions. Not a direct confession, but enough for me to know. They're involved. They want me to hurt, to pay for daring to set boundaries. I stand there looking at my father, mother, and Corey, three people who once meant the world to me, now strangers. My heart aches, not from anger, but from a deep sadness. I had hoped even just a little that they'd apologize, that they'd say they had nothing to do with it. Instead, I see only hostility, selfishness, and spite. "I'm done," I say, my voice eerily calm. "I've tried my best, but I can't do this anymore. If you and Corey want to keep seeking revenge, go ahead. But I won't let you destroy my life anymore." I turn and walk out, leaving behind my mother's voice. "You'll regret this, Everett," and Corey's mocking chuckle. As I get in the car, my hands shake so badly I can barely fit the key in the ignition. I drive away, not looking back, but inside I know this is the last time I'll step foot in that house. I confronted them, but instead of relief, I feel an emptiness. Not freedom, but the pain of losing my family. The drive back from Clarksville leaves me with an emptiness, as if my heart is a guitar with broken strings, unable to produce a single note. My father Russell's words echo in my mind, his cold, mocking tone threatening that things will get worse if I don't keep sending money. My mother Paula's accusations of my ungratefulness sting like salt in a wound, and Corey's sneering laugh feels like a slap across my face. I grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white, trying to focus on the road. but all I can see is the image of hairy tarantulas spilling out of that cursed box on our wedding day, turning our happiest moment into a nightmare. I know it was them. I have no proof, but I know. And that truth burns inside me like a fire, mingling with anger and a grief that won't fade. Back at our small East Nashville apartment, Claire is my only anchor. She pulls me to the sofa, her warm hands clasping my cold ones, and listens as I pour out every detail of the confrontation. I tell her how Dad scoffed as if I were a joke, how Mom screamed that I'm an ungrateful son, and how Corey's cruel smile reveled in my pain. Claire doesn't interrupt, just holds my hand tighter, her eyes full of love but also worry. When I finish, she pulls me into a hug, letting me rest my head on her shoulder. And in that moment, I feel like I can breathe again, if only a little. "Everett," she whispers, her voice trembling, "you can't let them keep hurting us. The spiders, the threats, that's not family, that's revenge." I nod, but inside I'm still wrestling with guilt. I've turned my back on my parents, my brother, who were once my entire world. But Claire's right. This isn't family. This is control, exploitation, and now cruelty. My phone buzzes and I flinch, thinking it's another threatening call. But it's Grandma Sandra. "Everett," her voice is firm yet loving over the phone. "You did the right thing confronting them. But you can't let them continue. You have to protect yourself, protect Claire. They don't deserve your love." Her words are like a breeze, clearing some of the fog of guilt in my heart. Grandma has always understood me best, and she knows how far my parents, especially Dad, can go when angry. I sit at the kitchen table as Claire brews me a cup of hot tea, the faint minty scent easing my tension. "I need to do something, Claire," I say, my voice hoarse. "I can't live in fear of what they'll do next. The anonymous texts, the spider box, I know it's them even if they won't admit it. I can't let them destroy our lives." Claire nods, her eyes resolute. "We'll face this together, Everett. But you need to cut them off completely. No calls, no texts, no contact. And we need to protect ourselves in case they..." She trails off, not wanting to voice what we're both thinking. Retaliation. I know she's right, but the thought of completely cutting off my parents and Corey makes my heart ache. They're my family despite their unforgivable actions. I remember my childhood, Mom singing me to sleep, Dad teaching me to throw a baseball, Corey and me running around the backyard laughing carelessly. Those memories are like sharp shards now, cutting into me whenever I think of them. But then I look at Claire, at the wedding ring glinting on her finger, and I remember our vows, a future together, a life free from unreasonable demands. The next day I call Grandma Sandra again. I need her advice, her strength to cross this final line. We talk for hours and she tells me about the days she and Grandpa struggled to raise my dad and his siblings. "I never asked my children to sacrifice their lives, Everett," she says. "Family isn't an excuse to let yourself be destroyed. You've done enough. Now live for yourself." Her words are like a flame, illuminating the path I need to take. I sit down with Claire, and we make a plan. First, I block my parents' and Corey's phone numbers, delete them from my contacts, and block their social media accounts. Each time I hit block, it feels like I'm erasing a part of myself, but I know it's necessary. Next, we start looking for a new place to live. Our current apartment in East Nashville is known to my parents, and after what's happened, I don't want them to have any chance of finding us. We find a small house on the outskirts, far from the city, with a little garden and a white picket fence. A place where I hope we can start fresh, unhaunted by the past. Finally, I contact a lawyer recommended by Tom, Claire's dad. He's an old family friend of the Parkers, specializing in family law. I meet him in a small downtown Nashville office where the smell of coffee and old papers lingers. "Everett," he says, his voice deep and steady, "we can file a restraining order to ensure your parents and brother don't harass you anymore. But you'll need to provide every detail, the anonymous texts, the spider incident, any evidence you have." I nod, though I know my evidence is just gut feelings and vague threats. But I agree because I need to do everything I can to protect Claire, to protect our new life. When I return home, Claire is packing boxes, preparing for the move. She looks up smiling, and I see a spark of hope in her eyes. "We're going to be okay, right, Everett?" she asks. I pull her into my arms, kissing her forehead. "We'll be okay, Claire, I promise." But as I say it, a sliver of unease lingers. I know my parents and Corey won't let go easily. I know they might find ways to retaliate, but this time I won't let them win. That night I lie in bed, Claire sleeping soundly beside me, her breathing steady. I stare at the ceiling, listening to the wind outside the window, and for the first time in months I feel a flicker of relief. I've cut the chains tying me to the past. I've chosen Claire, chosen myself. But deep down, I'm still bracing for what might come, a new storm, another threat. And I swear, no matter what happens, I won't let them destroy the happiness I'm trying to build. The weeks that follow pass in a new rhythm, slow but filled with hope. Claire and I move into our small house on the outskirts of Nashville, far from the bustling streets of East Nashville and the shadow of the past. The house isn't big, just 2 bedrooms, a cozy living room with windows overlooking the garden and a white picket fence surrounding it. But it's ours. When we first step inside, I feel a breath of fresh air, as if I can finally breathe without the weight of demanding phone calls or threatening texts. Claire stands in the garden holding a pot of yellow daisies, her smile radiant. "Everett, we're going to make a real home here," she says, and I believe her. I still work at Bramwell Utilities and drive deliveries at night, but now every dollar I earn is for us. For Claire, for our home, for the future we're building. I no longer send money to Clarksville, no longer receive calls from Mom demanding shopping money or from Dad to cover gambling debts. The silence from my family persists, and though it stings at times, I know it's the price of freedom. I've blocked their phone numbers, removed them from social media, and with the help of Tom's lawyer, we've filed for a restraining order. It hasn't been approved yet, but just signing those papers makes me feel like I'm reclaiming control of my life. Grandma Sandra visits one weekend afternoon, bringing a tray of butter cookies and another hand-knitted blanket. She steps into the house, looking around with a satisfied smile. "This place suits you, Everett," she says, settling onto the new sofa Claire and I bought with our savings. "You look better already. No more dark circles under your eyes." I smile, hug her, and feel a weight lift from my heart. Grandma has always been the light guiding my path, and now she's the only family I have left. Claire and I start new routines. On Sunday mornings, we make breakfast together, toast and fried eggs, sometimes pancakes that Claire whips up with the excitement of a child. We sit at the kitchen table talking about small things. Her plans for a vegetable garden, my ideas for fixing the fence, or funny stories from her classroom. These moments, simple but warm, are things I never dared dream of during the years weighed down by family obligations. But the past doesn't always let go. Some nights when Claire is asleep, I lie staring at the ceiling and memories of my parents and Corey flood back like a tide. I remember the days Dad taught me to fish by the Cumberland River, when he still laughed and called me kiddo. I recall Mom singing old country songs while washing dishes, her voice soft and warm. I think of Corey as a little kid, running after me in the backyard, begging me to play ball. Those memories are like broken glass now, beautiful but sharp, cutting into me whenever I touch them. I know I did the right thing by cutting them off. The spiders at the wedding, the threatening texts, the sneers during our confrontation, all proved they didn't see me as a son or brother, but as a source of money, something to control. Yet the pain lingers, like a scar that never fully heals. Sometimes I wonder if I could forgive them, if they might one day change. But then I look at Claire, at our new home, and I know I can't go back. One evening, as we sit on the porch watching the sunset paint the distant fields golden, Claire takes my hand. "What are you thinking, Everett?" she asks, her voice soft as the breeze. I look at her, seeing the light reflected in her brown eyes, and I smile. I'm thinking I made the right choice, Claire. Choosing you, choosing us. This future, it's worth more than anything. She leans her head on my shoulder, and we sit in silence, letting the crickets and the wind tell their own stories. A few months later, the restraining order is approved. The lawyer calls, his voice calm but firm. Everett, your parents and brother have been notified. They're not allowed to contact or come near you and Claire. If they violate the order, the police will step in. I thank him, but as I hang up, I don't feel triumphant. I feel an ending. Not overwhelming joy, but a quiet peace, like the calm after a storm. We continue our new life. Claire starts her vegetable garden and I help her dig, though I'm so clumsy I break a shovel. We laugh, argue over whether to plant tomatoes or zucchini, and I realize these moments, small, ordinary, are what I've always longed for. I still work hard, but now every dollar I earn brings satisfaction. Because it's for us, not for paying off unreasonable demands. Grandma Sandra occasionally sends handwritten cards with loving messages. "You're my pride, Everett," she writes in one. "Live well and don't look back." I keep those cards in a small wooden box on the shelf, a reminder that I still have family, not by blood but by choice. People who love me unconditionally. Some days I still think about my parents and Corey. I wonder what they're doing, if they regret anything, if they'll ever realize what they've lost. But I no longer let those thoughts drag me down. I've learned that family isn't an excuse to accept exploitation or hurt. Family is about love, support, and growing together, not control or revenge. And sometimes, to find true happiness, you have to find the courage to cut ties with toxic relationships, no matter who they are. One evening, as Claire and I stand in the garden watching the yellow daisies bloom under the moonlight, I take her hand. "I made the right choice, Claire," I say, my voice steadier than ever. "Our future is worth more than anything." She smiles, resting her head on my chest. And in that moment, I know that no matter how painful the past was, I've found my path. A path to a new life, where I'm no longer an ATM, but a husband, a man with a real family to love and protect. Reflecting on the journey I've been through, I realize that life isn't a sad country song, where you're forever trapped in the low notes of pain and obligation. I once believed that family was everything, that I had to sacrifice it all, my health, my happiness, my future, to provide for my parents and Corey, to uphold the label of a dutiful son. But those years, filled with relentless calls for money, mocking words, and the horrific spider box at our wedding, taught me a costly lesson. Family isn't a chain that binds you to exploitation or control. Family is important, but it must be built on love, respect, and mutual support. When family becomes an excuse for others to manipulate, threaten, or hurt you, it ceases to be family. It took me years to understand this, to find the courage to cut the ties with my parents and Corey, people I once loved unconditionally but who pushed me to the brink of exhaustion. That decision was painful, like tearing out a piece of my heart, but it was also the door to freedom, to true happiness. Now standing in the small garden of our suburban Nashville home, holding Claire's hand under the moonlight, I know I made the right choice. Claire, Grandma Sandra, and the Parker family have shown me what real family looks like. Warm embraces, selfless encouragement, and simple moments brimming with love. Sometimes to find happiness, you have to let go of toxic relationships, even if they're with blood relatives. You have to choose yourself. Choose the people who truly love and value you. If you're standing at a crossroads like I once was, listen to your heart. Don't let guilt or duty trap you in a cycle of suffering. Cutting ties isn't selfishness, it's liberation, for you and for the future you deserve. I found my happiness with Claire in our little house with the white picket fence, in mornings making pancakes and evenings watching sunsets. And I hope, if you're struggling, you'll find your path to the light, where you can breathe, live, and love without fear.